Am I the asshole for telling my daughter I don't regret sending her away? I, 42 female, was married and had two daughters. When Abby was 5 and Sarah was 8, my husband passed away. It was awful and really affected the two girls, and after his death, we went to family therapy for a long time. When Sarah was 13, I started to date again, and this is where the problem started. Sarah started to act out a lot, screaming, breaking things, and more. I kept my new boyfriend away and started Sarah in private therapy and therapy with me in the sessions. We stopped family therapy when she was 11. It didn't help and it just kept getting worse and worse. It got to a point where I broke up with the boyfriend at the time since I thought it would help Sarah. It didn't get any better and really affected the relationship between the two sisters. Abby started to resent Sarah for her actions. When Sarah was 15, her and her friends, she was not in a good crowd at school, snuck out of the house and stole her friend's parents' car. They were caught by one of the parents and Sarah was in the driver's seat drunk. Now that was the last straw. I signed her up for teen rehabilitation programs that deal with all types of issues. Since Sarah was considered a flight risk, since she sneaks out of the house all the time, they picked her up in the middle of the night. She was in the program for 6 months, and during that time, I sold the house and moved to a different state so all of us would have a fresh start. After Sarah got back from the program, she was a lot better. There was still a lot of work to do, but the whole family was able to get through it, though the relationship between Sarah and Abby has never been close since. Today, Sarah is 22 and is back from college for spring break. Yesterday, we were looking at old family photos from our old house. Sarah was quiet for the most of it and asked me if I regretted sending her to that program. I told her no. Sarah was shocked and started crying, saying that that place was a nightmare and that she has to work through it to this day. I said, I know, I heard the extremely strict rules the place had before. She started screaming, if you knew it was hell for me, why don't you regret sending me there? And I told her she would have ended up in jail without it. She hasn't talked to me since, so am I the asshole here? Also, some more relevant information. No, she has told me nothing traumatic happened to her there. The program allowed each kid to have a flip phone 24/7 to call their parents at any time. The first week she was there, I received over 100 calls a day of her screaming at me. I even visited at random times to make sure everything was okay. No warning for the program, just showed up. The hardest part for Sarah, she said, was being stripped of her freedom. There was a schedule she had to follow. Nothing will get her out of it. If she didn't help clean the kitchen, then she would be assigned that task until she did. Now here's what the people had to say. It is truly unfortunate, but some people have to personally experience the hell they cause others to be able to change. Without an extreme shock to the system, she wasn't going to have a decent life. Even worse, her behavior would have ruined both yours and your youngest's life as well. The soft approach was tried, it did not work. That was the last resort to show her the error of her ways. She may never forgive you at 22. Most people have a hard time seeing past their own feelings and personal perspective. She is too wrapped up in herself to realize that she forced herself into that situation. You're not the asshole. Someone else said, yeah, I feel like people are completely disregarding the whole drunk driving bit, like a parent that didn't care would have said whatever and let the cops take her to jail. I think OP's daughter's feelings are valid, but I feel like the daughter also didn't realize how dangerous her behavior was. She could have killed herself and others as well. Someone else said, I had parents who didn't care. I didn't end up in jail, but I'm definitely jealous of kids who got intervention. I wonder where I'd be if I spent less time being wild. OP, you did good. I hope your daughter eventually realizes how important the opportunity was for you and herself. Someone else says, yes, agree. OP did good. Did great. I'm just so impressed at what you did for your daughter. Gave up for yourself. Your boyfriend moved to the new community, major expenses with her treatment from therapist to in-house help. Yes, I realize she is your daughter, but still, you focused entirely on her needs, what would work for her. Someday, hopefully, your daughter will appreciate all that, at least grasp the enormity of how you ended your life for her. Meanwhile, please accept my awe and total respect for what you did for your girl. Someone else said, I've heard some horror stories about programs like these, but sounds like OP did her due diligence to make sure this wasn't one of those teen abuse centers. The shock clearly did her daughter some good. Maybe it's time for more therapy for mom and daughter and some individual for the daughter. The drunk driving thing is serious. I wonder if it crosses the daughter's mind that with nothing done, a later incident could have ended her life, left her disabled, or landed in prison with lifelong regrets of the harm she did to someone else. Someone else said, yep, my mom was a friend, not a parent, and I paid the price for almost 20 years. OP, well done. Really. You're not the asshole. So guys, tell me your thoughts on this entire situation in the comments. This is a reminder for you guys to subscribe and hit the like button. Am I the asshole for showing my baby brother that animals have to die in order for us to eat meat? Recently, my wife 25 and I 25 male started growing our own meat as a response to both the prices rising and the cruelty of the meat industry. Our turning point was when she discovered a big clot of blood inside the thigh of the chicken we bought. I grew up on a farm and I know that it was the mark of a bird being beaten while alive. So we started growing our own 6 months ago. We sacrificed our first bird and I made a point of learning how to do it, just so I'm responsible for the life that is taken in order for my family to eat. I reached out to a kosher butcher and he agreed to teach me how to do it properly. We don't sell the meat and we have a veterinarian checking the health of the birds every 3 months, so they are safe for consumption. I'm the eldest of 3 brothers. My youngest brother is 12 and wanted to stay with us for a couple of days during his winter break. And it just so happened that his visit overlapped with the day that we spent sacrificing and preparing the meat for the last day of eating meat until Easter. We fast of all animal products for the duration of the Lent. My brother did not know what we were doing and came in the sacrificing area just as I made the first cut. Cue the tears and screaming. We had a job to do, so we could not intervene for an hour. After we cleaned up, my wife went to the store to buy some groceries, and in the meantime, I sat my brother down and explained what he saw. I made a point explaining that meat comes from sacrificed animals, that we have to understand and respect the animals that died for us in order to have meat on our own plates. He, while sobbing, said that he will never eat meat again and asked to be taken back to my parents' house. I understood his request, so I took him back. And inevitably, my mom found out and cued the screaming, especially the fact that I traumatized my brother, and while I understand that, I argued that he is old enough to understand this truth and his choice is not my fault. My mom went ballistic on me. My wife and dad chose to stay out of it, so this is mainly between us. Am I the asshole? Here are a few important things that I needed to add. I'm Eastern European, as in I lived all my life here. A farm here is not the industrial-sized farm you guys have in the US. It was a 5,000 square meter patch of land that had my grandparents' house on it and enough space to raise chicken, pigs, and a cow. My grandparents sold the farm when I was 10. Neither of my brothers had contact with animals the way I did. My grandparents hired a neighbor to help them around with the animals. He drank a lot and took his frustrations out on the chickens and often kicking them. This is why he was fired and how I learned how a bruised chicken looks like. English is not my native language, so sacrifice was the wrong choice of words. I am not in a satanic cult. Here's what the people had to say. Well, it's not a religious sacrifice, but in a way, the animal's life is being taken to feed OP and the family. It's not a bad thing the 12-year-old learned how meat is made. So what? The younger brother had to cope by himself for an hour. You're not an asshole. Someone else said, yeah, but how about a heads up? We're slaughtering chickens, hang out inside for an hour or something. Also, part of the you are the asshole in my ruling is about the general off vibe I got. Part of it was explained by OP, but there is something left being unsaid. OP grew up on a farm, mentions nothing about divorce or step-parents, so we are left to assume family unit is intact. Same mom and same dad raise OP, who learns as a kid that a blood clot means chicken is beaten. Then the 12-year-old comes along, has no knowledge of a working farm, and the sight of a slaughter leads to a complete hysterical breakdown and a proclamation of vegetarianism. What is going on here, you know? Someone else said chickens just don't lay down and die. They run around with their heads cut off, which can be very disconcerting and may have contributed to the brother's hysteria. That's where the phrase running around like a headless chicken originates from. Just a thought. Someone else said, all the more reason for a pardon me. Heads up. So guys, tell me your thoughts on this whole situation in the comments. That is all I have for you guys today. If you did enjoy it, like the video and comment your favorite part or a part that you don't actually agree with. And don't forget to subscribe. Bye-bye.